Students, my name is Estrella Mejia. I am the education specialist here at Indiana Latino Institute. Indiana Latino Institute and the College Prep program, we want to start this new series called Trade School Series. While our biggest goal is to help students achieve higher education after high school, we understand that those plans can look very different for everyone else. So we're having the opportunity to meet with professionals and organizations and universities and colleges that have other opportunities in case this may float your boat. So for those who are not familiar with who I am, just a brief introduction. I am Estrella Mejia. I am the education specialist for Marion, Boone, and Hamilton County. I serve these counties for high school students, 9th through 12th, and we offer a free college prep program. If you're new to the program, welcome. If you've been in our program, welcome back, and we hope that you really enjoy this trade school series. And we also have Elena, who will be talking to us a little bit about Built to Succeed. Elena, welcome. And I would love if you could just share a little bit about your background and how you got to Built to Succeed.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Estrella, for having me. So my name is Elena Guadiana. I am a community outreach coordinator for the Indiana Careers and Construction Association. So I typically travel up north to like Kokomo, Hammond, South Bend, but I'm mainly stationed here in Indianapolis. And typically what I do is I help educate high schoolers about the benefits they can get from getting into the apprenticeships through the building trades. And there's 14 of them. So all 14 building trades are a union and they all have their individual apprenticeships that students can do after high school. So I really just enjoy going around and talking to students and letting them know about the benefits, which we'll get into later on in this slide. But I grew up on the east side, so I'm originally from Chicago, but I went to Warren Central. I graduated from Warren. And so what led me to this role now is really I in high school I really wanted to do a trade, but I didn't really have the support to do it. I didn't have the resource to do it. So figured I'd go to college, but then I found out college really wasn't my thing. I really tried. And I just felt like more of a hands-on person. So really what got me here was my story and my experience. So I feel like there's a lot of misinterpretation when it comes to like you have to go to college in order to get a good job. But in reality, as long as you're hardworking and dedicated to what you like to do, you can go into anything, and especially the trades. So really, I like to share my story on, how I wanted to go into the trades and I didn't have the support. And now I kind of want to be that support system for high schoolers. So if anyone is interested or really wanting to go into construction, whether they're a woman or a man, it doesn't matter. I would be the one to basically talk and support them along the way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Elena. I feel like that really helps students kind of feel, a little better. Maybe there's some students who are in the similar path as you, in the same shoes as you. So that's very fulfilling to hear. So please go ahead and walk us through what Built to Succeed is, and how some students can benefit from it.
Yeah, so Built to Succeed is a nonprofit organization, and we were created around like technically 2014, but we really took off in 2020 when COVID happened. And we have some statistics later on as to why that kind of blew up a little bit more. But Built to Succeed is a nonprofit, so we're pretty small, but we travel across the states of Indiana or the state of Indiana. So if you take a look at that map here, these are all the different apprenticeship training locations that students can go to. So because there's 14 trades, they all individually have apprenticeship programs. So we are in touch with over 60 apprenticeship training locations throughout the state of Indiana, and more than 4,000 employers are waiting to hire students. So we split the state in half, and I typically go up north or help anyone here in central Indy. But yeah, so we basically are like the middleman. We help you get connected to the right people just because we already have that relationship set in. So a lot of times students don't really know what apprenticeships are. Oftentimes I'll hear that they're like job shadowing opportunities, which is a little bit like it kind of touches on it, but I like to say it is a paid on the job training with classroom instruction. So I like to also, an easier way to remember it is like it's an earn while you learn opportunity. So you're getting paid progressive wages while you receive credits for like certifications, or you can also get a degree, which we'll get into later on. But just know that it is paid on the job training with classroom instruction. So it's different from internships, just because apprenticeships are typically related to trades. So any specific trade, whether that's welding or any other trades that we'll talk about today, those guys are looking for apprentices. So this just breaks it down a little bit more. So as soon as you begin your education, you're placed with an employer. You may work with multiple employers while being an apprentice. So depending on which project you're working on, you might work on that for a couple years, but then once you're finished with that project, you're going to potentially be placed with another employer. So if you start out with Wilhelm, you might transfer on to Pepper depending on what work is available in your area. So just keep that in mind. Apprentices complete an on the job training with their employer and traditional classroom training. So there might be once or twice a week or once or twice a month that you'll be in a classroom. It could be night class, it could be day class. You won't be in the classroom for the most part. You might be there for orientation when you start out, but you'll be in the classroom at least once or twice a week or a month doing like mathematics, theory, that kind of stuff. But the rest of the time, it's typically like a 40-hour week. You'll be on the construction site. You'll be hands-on, learning under someone. And then salary is tied to educational milestones. So every year you complete an apprenticeship training, you receive a wage increase. So it typically takes 4 to 5 years to complete the program too. Starting out, you might make anywhere from $16 to $25 an hour, depending on, where you train. So depending if you go up north or south, they may pay more or less. But for the most part, I like to tell students that your first year as an apprentice, you may make anywhere from 16 to 25. Every single year from then on, you get a wage increase. So if it takes 4 to 5 years, every year you get a wage increase. By the time you hit your fifth year or you're about to graduate from the program, you could be making anywhere from $30 to $60 an hour, depending on which trade you choose. So some trades, they may pay more, they may pay less. Again, it all just depends. So we like to kind of give it a number, a kind of flexible number. So just remember, you'll start out making 16 to 25, but you'll make more as you go along the way. And you also get other benefits.
Awesome. Thank you, Elena, for that. I think that's really important for students to kind of understand how it's broken down, and I think you explained that perfectly.
So now we'll get into the building trades. You might recognize some of these logos, and these guys are all across the state of Indiana. So we'll start out with the bricklayers. The bricklayers, they install tile, marble, terrazzo point, caulk cleaning, refractory, plaster, cement, mosaic work, and new cladding systems. And so you'll see Indiana and Kentucky, so their local's pretty big. Again, if you guys notice in the map, we have different training centers. Sometimes they could be like closer to the borders of some states, so just keep that in mind. Next is carpenters. So they have three divisions. It's carpenters, millwrights, and floor covering. But for the most part, they kind of combined all of them. So all of their tasks included assembling framework, install floor covers, maintain heavy industrial machinery, and more. And then Boilermakers, they construct, assemble, and install large metal structures like boilers and tank, routine maintenance and repairs using gas sources and welding equipment. So if you guys notice the little asterisk symbols at the bottom left, I included welding. So if any students are interested in welding, I just want to let them know that typically welders will go into like automotive or even fab shops, so fabrication, but they also have a place in construction. So you have the opportunity to get certifications in welding in some of these trades. So if you see any of those little asterisk symbols next to the descriptions of the trade, just know that there are welding opportunities. Next is the heat and frost insulators. So they install insulation in buildings to reduce heat loss, prevent condensation, and protect from noise pollution. Then we have the electrical workers, also known as electricians. So they install and maintain electrical systems, including wiring, control, lighting, power distribution. They do have two different programs. So their first program is a 3-year program. So it's a low voltage, which typically handles IT and telecom. And then their 5-year program, which is high voltage, is they handle everything from circuit breaks to outlets on construction sites. I typically recommend students to take the high voltage class just because it combines both of them and you get a bigger bang for your buck. So if you're going to spend 5 years in the electricians union, you might as well just kind of get all those skills included. And then we have the elevator constructor. So they assemble, service, maintain elevators, escalators, dumbwaiters, moving walkways, and similar equipment in new buildings. So they're kind of a smaller union in Indiana compared to other states. So Chicago obviously has a larger elevator constructor union, but we do have a decent one here. It just is a little competitive. But if you're interested in learning how to maintain elevators, escalators, this would be a good union to go into. And then we have Leuna. So they're also known as the laborers. So they set up and dismantle scaffolding, ramps, braces on site. They help with tasks like painting, plumbing, and roofing, assist in road work, concrete, and asphalt. So they have a variety of skill sets within their trade. So I typically recommend Leuna when students kind of feel like they don't want to just fit one mold. Leuna has a variety of things you can learn from and different skills to pick up. Then we have the ironworkers. So they erect, weld structural steel on bridges, schools, stadiums, windmills, etc. They cut, bend, and weld iron and steel using welding tools. I will preface, if you do not like heights, I do not recommend the ironworkers. So if you guys notice, even downtown Indy, whenever they were erecting like the hotel or even the hospital, they have to go in first and build like kind of like the skeleton of a building, put up the large iron structural steel to make sure that the building is sturdy. But again, they do work at heights. So if you do not like heights, I do not recommend this trade. And then we have the operators. So they operate bulldozers, motor graders, backhoes, cranes to shape the infrastructure and skylines. Machines are used to move soil, supplies, and other building materials. So again, if you guys travel downtown Indy, you'll notice a bunch of cranes, and those guys are the operators. So they help move material from all the way at the bottom to the top of a large hotel building that's being built. But if you're not interested in doing cranes, they also have different ones like bulldozers that are closer to the ground. So they have a variety of different machines you can use. And then we have the painters and glaziers. So they install and fabricate glass, industrial and commercial paint, drywall finishing, and floor covering. Then we have the roofers. So they apply and remove high quality roofing systems, install insulation, and ensure proper ventilation to keep buildings efficient. At this point, I usually like to kind of remind students, or at least flag it for them, that all of these trades are working on heavy industrial or commercial buildings. So we're not typically doing like houses or any residential work. So if you're interested in doing like larger projects that are for like Eli Lilly, again, hospital buildings, school buildings, that kind of stuff, these are the large projects that our union members are working on. So just keep that in mind whenever you hear all the different trades, it's more of a larger scale. And then we have the UA, which is the plumbers and pipe fitters. So they fabricate, install, and service plumbing, steam, gas, and HVAC systems. They process piping systems and controls by means of welding. So they have a huge welding program within their trade. And if anyone's really interested in HVAC, they kind of tap into the HVAC systems, especially when it comes to like piping and connecting those systems together. So if anyone's interested in HVAC, I usually recommend the UA, which is the plumbers and pipe fitters. And then this is the last three. So the plasters and cement masons, they coat walls, ceilings, and surfaces with mortar, plaster or stucco to the right consistency. Then we have the sheet metal workers, also known as SMART. They use welding and computer numeral control tools to cut, bend, and shape metal. Metal sheets go on structures and are used to support framework. And then lastly, we have the sprinkler fitters. So they're a division from the UA, which is the plumbers and pipe fitters, but they have their own union. So they cut, thread, and assemble pipe for fire protection systems, inspect and fix sprinkler systems when needed. So the reason why they're separate is because they use a different piping system and water line for fire protection. So none of it is really connected. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now we'll go into requirements. So technically, students can start applying at 17 years old for pre-apprenticeship slash helper opportunities. And what that looks like is it's mainly you going in, observing, shadowing at that point, apprentices and what they do in their day to day. You might help sort scrap metal or just do light things, but technically, you're not legally allowed to work on any heavy equipment, machinery, that kind of stuff. So you'll just be observing, and it could be just for a couple hours a week. It wouldn't be a full-time thing. So it all depends on the capacity for some of these trades. Some of them do have helper opportunities, some of them don't. So it really just depends, but we can try to get you connected in with some of them if they do. You must at least be 18 years old to apply. But if you're 17 now, going to turn 18 in a month or in 2 months, or you're a senior, I would start applying now sooner than later, just because this could take anywhere from maybe 6 to 8 months for this whole thing to process through. Um, I always recommend them if you're a junior, senior, just start early because it does take a process. Not only will you have to provide some information, you'll also have to interview, you'll have to do a work keys test, which is a knowledge test. So you have different things that you'll have to check off. I like to tell students that this is treat this as if you're, applying for a job or you're getting interviewed for a job because it is a job. It's going to be a 40-hour week for you guys whenever you're done with school. So just keep that in mind when you're applying for this, you want to show up your best and still treat it as if it's like any other profession, really. So next, you will need your high school diploma or equivalent, so any HSE, GED. If you are applying early and you're still in high school, if you can get a letter from your counselor that says you're in good standing, that would count, that you're going to graduate soon, and you'll be able to submit that. You'll need reliable transportation and a driver's license. So it's important for you guys to have a reliable transportation to take you and from to class, but also to the construction site. So you might have multiple locations to go to. Um, so I would rather someone have their own transportation than rely on like your parents or anything like that, because again, things can happen. You'll need your own transportation whenever you have to travel. Um, I like to highlight good attendance record and soft skills. If they see that you're not attending school, or you were, absent a lot, they're probably going to think you're not going to show up to the work site. So it's important for you guys to still show up to school, still, uphold your grades and all that stuff. Um, Soft skills is also encouraged, not necessarily required. Um, I always like to tell students that you are one of 300, 400 people that are applying for these union apprenticeships. You need something that will set you apart. Even if it's like going to work with your uncle, your dad, your mom, if they have a construction business, that kind of experience will help you in the long run. It'll give you some leverage whenever you're interviewing for these positions. So, again, it's not really necessarily required for you guys to have like experience or soft skills, but I just like pushing it just because you want to go in knowing what tools you're using. You want to go in knowing some of the process of construction. So even if it's like working for Home Depot, Lowe's, if you're working outside on a project, big or small, it really doesn't matter as long as you're doing something over the summer that will help you in the long run. And then finally, you'll have to pass a drug test. So they'll drug test you initially when you're starting the process for applying, and if you get accepted, you'll get a drug test. But the union takes safety very seriously, so they will not only just drug test you initially, but they'll drug test you randomly throughout your whole career. So anytime within those 4 to 5 years, you could be drug asked to take a drug test without reason. Um, they'll just do that randomly. So just keep that in mind that they do take it seriously. If they detect any drugs within your system, then they'll probably ask you to retest. And if it comes back again, then you'll probably have to be let go or at least pause for a moment for your apprenticeship program. So just keep that in mind.
Awesome. Elena, thank you so much for sharing those requirements. I think when a lot of students think about, going into trade school, what that might entail, I think the requirements really break it down and help students
Yeah.
gain a better clarity of what those requirements are. Just a question that I have that maybe some students will also have as well. When we think about requirements, whether that's college applications or going into the trade school, I think one of the most important things that students think about is how they're going to pay for it. So I want to know, is there financial aid assistance when it comes to trade school, or what does that look like?
Yeah. So with trade school, it's different because there's trade school and then there's apprenticeship programs. This is an apprenticeship program that really is made to see you guys succeed. So there's not really the only initial fees you'll probably have would be like an application fee, and you'll need to provide your own like clothing equipment. So that's like steel toe boots. Make sure you have like denim jeans, that kind of stuff, jackets to keep you warm. For the most part, starting out, you're not going to have to put down a deposit or anything like that. This is more like a job. So not everyone is going to get an apprenticeship. Not everyone is going to get in, but if you have like the drive and maybe some of the requirements that you meet them, which there's only a few requirements really. If you meet them, you'll be able to get in, but for the most part, they don't really ask for, any more money than they do initially, which could be like $50 to $60, depending on which trade. But even then, some of their applications are free. So there's really no need for like financial aid. Trade schools, on the other hand, because they're non-union, those guys will probably ask for like tuition payment, that kind of stuff. With apprenticeships, it's more like a job. You have to apply. If you interview, if you get accepted, you'll start making wages starting out.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that will help our students watching this video. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we'll talk about why our organization, why we're here, why we're in front of you talking to you. And that's mainly because of the labor shortage that is expected by 2031. So due to the pandemic in 2020, we noticed a lot of union trade guys starting to retire. So just because of the state shut down, they were like, well, might as well. No one can really work together. No one can really be in close proximity. So some of our union guys retired. But we started noticing that at that time, like with all these people retiring, who's going to come in and replace them? So less than 8% of high school graduates and just 14% of college graduates were pursuing a career in construction. 88% of the construction firms were having trouble filling the open positions, which was particularly the tradespeople. So these are the people that are building up our schools. These are the people that are building our hospitals. These are the people that are building a lot of the infrastructure that we use every day. So we basically are asking people to kind of like consider, there is a position for you in construction. So these are a couple more national indicators. So there are 347,000 jobs open at the end of June 2022. At the same time, there were only 167,000 students enrolled in the apprenticeship program. So there's a gap there. If you're looking for opportunity and growth, it is now really that is open for you. So people are starting to recognize that the trades are where it's at. So we've noticed an influx in the applications. A lot of people, a lot of the trades, a lot of the training coordinator have been telling me like, oh, we've been getting 300, 400 people who apply and we can only accept a certain amount. But it's good on their end just because, now they know that we will be able to fill a job every single year. So if you're looking for the opportunity, starting now would be good, especially if you're a junior or senior. Depending on what your career path is, this kind of just offers a little bit of an insight. We like to compare what a typical 4-year college experience is and what a registered apprenticeship experience is. This is not meant to necessarily sway you guys away from college because, of course, we still need people, professions that, do need a college degree. But for some people, it's not really attainable. Not a lot of people can afford college. Maybe it's not even their thing. They don't want to do it, but they want to continue learning. So there's different opportunities for you guys to go into. So for the 4-year college experience, we'll start out on week one. Tuition and payment classes begin. Year 1 through 5, tuition payment classes continue. Limited work experience in any chosen field. Graduation, you have to begin job search, no guarantee for getting a job in your field. And then post grad, average college student debt could be anywhere from 35,397 or more. So those numbers are from 2019. So it's definitely higher than what it was. Now we're looking at it on the registered apprenticeship side, which is the right side. Week one, your paycheck and on-the-job training and classes begin. So if you get accepted, you might go into orientation, but for the most part, every hour you're in the classroom or you're on the job site, you're getting paid those $16 to $25 an hour. So year 1 through 5, your paycheck and benefits continue. On the job training and classes continue. You also get regularly scheduled pay raises. Graduation, so that's when you become a journeyman or a journeywoman after 4 to 5 years. Your career check and paycheck continues. You get benefits, and you also would have earned some college credits, which we'll get into in the next couple slides. And then post grad, you would be $0 in debt, and you would have earned over those 4 to 5 years $280,000 in wages combined. So that's combining your health benefits that you're getting, and that's combining your pension account that you're also receiving payments from. So there's definitely a difference between you going to college and then you going into the apprenticeship.
I think I think that's a good way to kind of compare what each
Yeah.
look like. So thank you for sharing that.
Mhm. So if you decide it's still not for me, we still have options for you. So if you still want to go to college, again, we still need people to go to college. And for some people, it is attainable. So if you're thinking about going to college, maybe consider some of these careers post-college. So we still need job site superintendents. We still need project engineers, project managers, estimators, mechanical, electrical, plumbing project managers or engineers, BIM modeling designers, construction safety directors, and company owners. So we still need these roles filled for jobs to come into Indiana. So we still need people bringing those opportunities for our tradesmen. So what makes us different? With it being the union, because you'll typically hear about a lot of different trade schools that are typically non-union. So with the union, they have their own apprenticeship programs, which is what we all talked about. All the 14 trades that we went to when we talked about briefly today, that's all of them that they're looking for apprenticeships. It's different because you have job stability. Again, you have more than 4,000 employers waiting to hire you when we initially started the PowerPoint presentation. We have higher wages. So because you're starting out in the apprenticeship, you're earning wages every hour. With trade schools, they ask you to pay. This is kind of the opposite. You're earning those wages. With medical and retirement benefits, you're also getting an extra incentive. So let's say you get married, you start a family, your medical benefits will cover you and your entire family, at least your immediate family. And then retirement benefits it's a little bit better than what your typical 401k is. So with retirement, you get a pension account. So not only will you get your $16 to $25 an hour, you'll also get paid maybe $1, $2 an hour for your pension account every time you work. And throughout the time, let's say you work in the trades a couple more years, you'll accumulate a good amount of money by the time you then retire, you'll start receiving pension. Now, typically, a lot of times people do stay in the trades until they can retire, which is like age 55. So they like to say that they retire with dignity because at the end, you guys could potentially get like checks up to $1,000 every month or every every 2 weeks, I believe. I'm not really sure, but basically you get retirement benefits that are a little bit better than what your typical 401k. At least with 401k, like for example, is what I get. 401k is coming out of like my hourly or salary wages versus this is coming into a separate account. So you're almost getting paid twice. And then finally, you can also get a debt-free education with Ivy Tech. So you can potentially graduate as a journeyman or a journeywoman, but you'll also get your associate's degree in applied science depending on which trade you choose. So not all programs are included. Only, I would say 10 out of the 15 or 14 different trades that we talked about have the Ivy Tech curriculum embedded. Um, so if you go into one of the trades that have it embedded, you can get your associate's degree, and you can also go back to school and potentially get a bachelor's degree in construction management. So a lot of times people choose to go to school right after high school if they want to do construction management, which is fine. But they a lot of times you can go into the trades, work your way up, get your free degree through Ivy Tech, which is 60 free credits that you would not have had to pay for, and then go back to school and potentially finish your career with a bachelor's. Typically, it can take 2 years after that. So they have programs for construction management. They want you to kind of succeed and continue your career in construction. So they have programs that you can go back to school, get your bachelor's degree in 2 years for a significantly less amount than what you would have gotten if you would have gone to college right after high school. So I feel like sometimes people tell you there's only one way to do things when in reality there's multiple ways. So there's different pathways. If you do want to stay in the trades, that's perfectly fine. A lot of times, a lot of people stay until they retire because the pension is so good. But you don't have to be in the trades your entire life. You can actually do it for a couple years. As long as you finish the apprenticeship program, you can do it for a couple years. Um, and then if you want to kind of work your way up in within the contractor's offices, if you work hard enough and they'll notice you, you can work your way up into again being a project engineer, project manager, that kind of stuff. So there's different paths for you guys to choose. There's not just one. A lot of times I hear stories of people going into the union, doing the apprenticeship, and then starting their own company just based on like the experience they would have gotten in the apprenticeship program. So there's different things you can do, and because it's the union, again, you get that debt-free education, you get your higher wages, and you're basically getting work experience from day one. So it opens a lot more doors for you. Guys are ready to get started, that's where we can come in and help. If you visit our website, you can look at the trades that we talked about here today. We kind of went through them briefly, but if you go to the careers tab, you'll notice all the different trades listed below. You can read about them. And then finally, when you guys have decided to apply to or want to get connected to a trade, you can use our form online, our information application. What that does is that we help you get connected in with the trades depending on which one you do. Again, I recommend that you at least choose 3 of them just because some of them have different sign-on times. They have different application times. So we like to make it easier and kind of send it out all at once. So I always recommend having at least 3 trades because some of them might be available or some of them might be closed, depending on which trade and where you live. So fill out the information application form would be the next step if you're ready to get connected. And you can also find that under the careers tab. But my information is also connected. So if you need to get in contact with me, you can always email me. Or Estrella, she also has my contact. So if you ever need to get connected directly or have any questions, you can connect with me and I'll be able to help you out and guide you to which trade you might like.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Elena, for sharing about Built to Succeed. And hopefully, students, you take advantage of this amazing information. Please, here's her email, here's her information. There's a website. Get connected, ask questions. If you're still unsure or would like a one-on-one with Elena, there's her information. But thank you again, Elena, for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.